Shown here is the box where the Bule Max Mini is shipped in. Note that across the top of the box is a nomenclature for the machine. Machine number, the name of the machine, Bule Max Mini, the voltage, the phase, and the cup pattern of the machine. Take a look at the box on the outside and make sure there's no damage from shipment. If everything seems okay, it is now proper to open the box and remove the machine. To remove the contents of the box, there should be 3 separate packages. First being a bag of excess tools such as wrenches, fence stops, and the machine manual. Next, you can pull out the fence and table assembly. And last will be the machine itself. Simply grab the machine from the top and at the swing arm area and lift out and place on your workbench. Note that behind the motor is a piece of cardboard for shipping purposes. Remove this. The first step in setting up your machine is to hook up the wiring. Note that the wiring has no plug on the end due to the various plugs and receptacles in your shop. Note the 3 wires are for a 110 or a 220 single phase. The wire end with the yellow and green stripe is always your ground. Here you see the 4-wire end of a cord, which is for a 220 3-phase or a 440 3-phase. Again, the yellow with the green striped end is the ground. On the motor, you will see the nameplate. Note, it will state single phase. If it's a single phase motor, the voltage is stated here as 110, and the T designates a single phase. If it were to be a 3-phase, you would see a delta symbol. The machine identification can be found on a plate located on the bottom right base of the machine. Here you will see the Bule Max Mini, the serial number, and the date. On a pneumatic machine, on the upper left-hand corner, you will see the pneumatic controls. At this point, you will see the inlet, the air regulator, and the air water trap. Here is the inlet position again. Various hoses can be attached, so we also include in your parts bag extra couplings. On top of the air regulator, you will see the control knob to increase or decrease air pressure. Simply lift up, turn right or left, and then lock into position by pushing down. It is advisable to use somewhere between 100 and 110 psi. To install the table and fence assembly, you will note the special lugs that need to be inserted into the bottom fence guide in the openings as you see here. Fit table onto the legs of the machine and push table back into position. To get the exact setup, look at the scale on the bottom of this fence, and you will note the scale should then be determined by your drilling pattern and then fix the locking nut. To adjust the side adjustment fence settings, you will have in your bag of parts the adjustable right-hand or left-hand fence stops. Position at your desired scale setting and lock with bolt. All machines have been pre-tested in our plant and have been tested using 5/8 material. Here you see the adjustment bolt for the drill depth of the machine. To raise or lower the machine drilling depths, loosen the nut and turn the bolt, right hand or left hand, to increase or decrease the depth of the drilling. When adjusted, fix the nut. Here you see the insertion die for the Bule Max Mini. As previously set up, this machine has been adjusted for the typical 110-degree intermat hinge. To install, slip the hinge cup area between the 4 pins and swing the arm back between the leaf springs. To adjust the fixing of the hinge into your drilled hole, you can adjust it through the means of these elongated holes. When properly adjusted, tighten the bolts. Another adjustment that can be made on this die is these two screws. These can be turned in or out through these locations here with your Allen wrench. Also note, here is the X marking the universal die. The machine is now ready to operate. Note that the drill bits have already been installed in the machine because we did pre-test it in our shop. To activate the motor, press the white start button. To adjust the up and down speed cycle of the machine, this can be done on the rear side of the assembly. From the back side of the machine, we're now looking at a small adjustable valve. By turning the knurled nut in or out, this will increase or decrease the down speed. Position your door up against the fence and up against a stop. To activate the machine, momentarily press the black button for the hold-down clamps. Again, depress the black button and hold button until drill bottoms out into the door. Release button. Now to install hinge, simply install the hinge into your die, swing back into position, depress black button again until the hinge is inserted into your door. Release button, remove swing arm out of position, depress the yellow button to release the clamps and remove your door. With basic maintenance, the Bule Max Mini will operate for many years. Here is a listing. First, blow dust off the machine and motor before and after each use. Second, grease the transmission block with medium-grade lube every 20 to 40 hours. Third, clean and oil the rear cylinder columns every 40 hours. Fourth, if the inline pneumatic oiler is not in your supply, simply add a few drops of pneumatic oil into the air inlet hose every 20 hours. Before any major repairs are done with the machine, be sure to unplug the wire connections. To remove the motor, you see the 4 fixing bolts. These need to be loosened and then removed. Lift the motor up off the housing. The transmission couplings can now be seen. We are now removing the outside main coupling, and here you see the transmission shaft coupling. To remove the plastic coupling from the motor, you will simply unscrew the Allen screw with your Allen wrench supplied and then remove. Here you see the 3 assemblies. There is one that fits onto your transmission shaft, one that fits onto your motor, and then the outside collar coupling. To get at these couplings, you may have to remove the coupling housing. This is done by loosening the 3 bolts shown here and removing. Here shows the transmission coupling. Again, to remove this, unscrew with Allen wrench and remove. This is showing the top of the transmission. Note, we have 5 bolts that fix the top cover. Loosen these and remove top cover. It may be necessary to pry this, but do remove it and the gasket that goes with it. Here you see the bearings and drive shafts. The long one is the main drive shaft, the other 2 are the auxiliaries, and then the front auxiliary. To remove the spindle assemblies, you will need to hammer the spindle shafts up. Remove the drill bits, and then with a hammer, tap the shafts up out of the machine base. To remove the assembly on the shaft, place in vise and hammer the shaft down, exposing the bearings and the shaft coupling. Here you see the 3 components. To reassemble, assemble back in the reverse order that they were taken apart. Line up the chuck screw to the chuck screw marking on the shaft, and then retighten in place. Here you see the completed assembly, finished and ready to reinstall. Also, when installing the coupling plastic gears, line up the gear spline shafts to each other, fix and tighten with your set screw. The gear that goes onto the motor is assembled in a similar fashion. Align the splines of the plastic gear to that of the motor and tighten down with the Allen screw. Position the outside coupling over the transmission coupling. Replace the transmission housing. When reinstalling the coupling housing, make note Hettich is toward the front. Refix with the 3 bolts. And here you see the air blow-off line on the 3rd bolt. To fix motor onto the transmission, line up the bolt holes. Again, the nameplate is facing the front, and refix with bolts. If you have any further questions on the Blue Max Mini, please contact Hettich Technical Department at 1-800-277-2222.